Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Beyond Art, the podcast. It's a podcast for artists that need motivation, inspiration, or just white noise while they work. This is the first episode of the podcast, and I'm so happy to be with you today. I'm your host, Nicole, and I hope that you continue listening. On this episode, I will be talking about the purpose of the podcast, give you a small introduction as to who I am, what to expect, and maybe we'll finish off with a little conversation about what art is and what it means to be an artist. So, to start off, let me just preface by saying that I am no way a professional or someone that has been in the field for years and years. I just hope that with this podcast, get to know new people, new artists, new talent, and give them a platform where they can talk, we can have conversations, talk about the state of art on like more of a casual like setting. I also feel like it's kind of important to dive a bit deeper into art because I'm a person that mostly just stays within visual arts. So drawings, illustrations, I've have a background which I'll explain later. I have a background in graphic design, but there is a lot of different types of art that not everyone is aware of or have this niche that only the people that work within it knows about it. I'm thinking of maybe woodwork, sometimes textile art is kind of a niche in itself. And so with this podcast, I think it's interesting to, for myself, go out of my way and meet those people. And perhaps I'll find something that I really like and push myself to discover new skills, find new artists that really inspire me. Obviously, for you guys that are listening, I hope that this gives you a little bit of confidence to see that anyone can start this journey of self learning, I would say, because this is not an academic. This is just my own personal passion project because I love podcasts and I listen to a lot of them. Almost none of them have to do with art, it's mostly just stories or people just talking about their everyday lives. But that is the beauty of it. It can be whatever you want it to be. All right, so I know I've been blabbering a little bit. You don't even know who I am or what to expect and why I'm talking about this art thing, interviewing people. But let me just start off by saying hi. I'm Nicole Phanalasy. I'm an artist, multidisciplinary artist, but also graphic designer. And most of all, I'm still a student. I'm studying at Concordia University, and I'm currently finishing my Bachelor of Fine Arts with a major in studio arts. What studio arts entails, for people that don't know, is different classes in different mediums. I focus on drawing and textiles as well. I've taken a few classes in ceramics, and I also took some classes in video. One of my goals with this podcast actually is to use my expertise and kind of the conversations I have with my classes during critiques, but into more of a real life scenario, I would say. I also studied in graphic design. I have a technical degree in graphic design. I studied at Dawson College for anyone that is listening and knows about it. So that was a 3 year kind of intense program where I learned a lot about designing, branding, page layout. So, this is all to say that I have experience in graphic design, what this englobes, if that's the right word. But I really fell in love with studio arts. If you guys had to choose a major and you had the option to choose studio arts, then I would 100% recommend it. It's really a great way to dip your toe in different art mediums and build a skill set. It's also great because it shows you that art can be a hobby but also can be a career for some. I've taken, as I said, courses in different disciplines, and one I've been really enjoying is the course I have right now, which is on textile. But I would never make a career out of it. I don't think so, at least. But learning how to embroider or do tapestry weaving is really something I want to explore a bit more, but just have it as a hobby that I could pursue during my own free time. I also come from a family of mixed backgrounds. My parents are from different ethnicities. My mom is Polish and my dad is Lao. And I don't come from any artistic backgrounds. My parents work in totally different fields. Anyway, enough about myself. I wanted to kind of take this time to explain a bit what you can expect from this podcast. This will be a monthly podcast, so I will have different episodes. It will have this structure of interviews. If you have any people that you recommend or think would like to be featured, please let me know in the comments or send me a DM on Instagram. I would just interview different artists, whether they work professionally or not, it doesn't matter. I just would like to interview a lot of different people from different backgrounds and open the table to a lot of different conversations that will be quite interesting. Obviously, I am the only one on this team. Is me recording, me editing. I am planning these episodes, messaging people. So if I am missing a episode for 1 month, I am so sorry. I am figuring things out and nothing is really set in stone for now. But I hope to have some questions that I will be asking each guest, then some themes that will revolve around the guests themselves. So let's say I'm interviewing my brother, then I could potentially have some discussions that will apply more to his practice instead of someone that would be an illustrator. And obviously, right now, you're probably only listening to my voice. But eventually, I would love to make a few clips or video while we are having those conversations. All I ask from you is please listen to the podcast and let me know what you think. If you have any suggestions, comments, or things I could improve on, please let me know. I would love to make this a better place, a better space for conversations, and something we can all build towards. If you've been enjoying the podcast so far and think you'll enjoy for the rest, send this to your friends or share it. It would really mean a lot to me. And if this gets big enough, then maybe I can improve on it. So, right now, I think we're past the time where I can kind of yap by myself. I think it would be interesting to kind of have this conversation about what it means to create art, what is art, and initially I was going to call this podcast Beyond Art with a big A, but it was kind of too long. I think it's still an interesting conversation as to what we consider art, really the art, the one with a big A, and what it means for everyone that makes art, whether they are artists or not, and kind of what it means to be an artist. Because I think in this day of age, anyone can really be an artist. I did this little question and answer on my Instagram accounts. I have a few of them, don't judge. And let me just read you the answers I had. I will be reading the answers I got kind of randomly, and then maybe we can ponder upon what we understand from them and what can be said about it. So, one of the answers I got is art is a visual transfer of ideas and emotions that cannot be put into words. Another answer I got was art is a way to beautify and ease life for the artists and the viewer. Others have said that art is an expression of ourselves. It is a way of expressing what we like, and it is also a canvas of thoughts. Finally, the last answer I got was art is an act of generosity. I think I would like to start with what was the last answer, which is art is an act of generosity. And I think that is a really interesting take, as in, art doesn't need to be shared. It's really up to the artist or the person that is creating the art to open themselves up and kind of share this art that they're doing. I'm thinking of different disciplines where the action of making art is considered a gift. Sometimes things like commissions or the product is something that is considered giving. I'm also thinking that the person that sent me this answer, I know that they do a lot of tattoo work, and I'm thinking of this as something that they are giving to the other person, kind of carrying their, I would say, legacy onto their body. It's a really interesting take on giving part of your mind or your creativity to other people. I'm continuing to other answers I've gotten, so let's go back to art is a visual transfer of ideas and emotions that cannot be put into words. This is a mouthful. A lot of people, whether they are artists or not, consider art mostly visual, which kind of begs the question of, is music something that we can only hear, more of something we feel, and not necessarily is it an art? But I would rather focus on the second part of that answer, which is it's kind of a transfer of ideas and emotions that cannot be put into words. But the transfer of ideas and emotion is really a beautiful way of putting it together. And it's also tying it in with giving, transferring ideas and emotions, something that we feel, perhaps putting it into something that we can experience as a common group rather than just having it in our mind. Another thing that we received is it's a beautiful way to ease life for the artist and the viewer. And I would only have to agree with this. Art is beautiful whether you like it or not. There are some things that are less beautiful, I would say, but perhaps these pieces of art are more meant to make you feel in a way. But it also links it to what we consider art as perhaps entertainment or something that just helps us not necessarily live in the moment but kind of go past it. I'm sure I'm not wording this properly, but just a way to make it easier, kind of escape from reality, or even in ways beautifying reality. I can think of poems that are often taken from real life moments and put into words that are really much more beautiful than saying, "Hey, I love you." And finally, I've gotten a lot of responses that art is a way of expressing ourselves or a way to process our thoughts. And I think that's true. This is the epitome of art, I would say, expressing your thoughts or just putting things into a perspective that you wouldn't have seen otherwise, or kind of a way to share ideas. So, just to put everything together in my own perspective, I think that art is something that we have to experience, whether it is by seeing it, feeling it, listening to it. It's definitely something that you need to process while making the art, but also when you consume art. And I believe that art can kind of be whatever you want it to be. If you're choosing to make a little sculpture out of snow, it can be considered art, but it's really the way that you frame it and the way that you put it out to people is what would make it, let's say, something that we consider art with a big A. Or if it is just a diary entry, it's still in a way art, but the way that you put it together is what makes it different. So the diary entry can be just writing, but if you put it in the museum alongside other work, then it would be considered more as an art than just as a diary entry. That is obviously something that we will be talking during the podcast. I'm really interested in different artists' point of view on art and having that discussion of low art and high art. This is really something that we have been struggling, I feel, in the art community. In my class, one of my teacher spoke about it, and how sometimes craft used to be considered art but now is considered more of as a hobby. I think it really becomes interesting when you put different disciplines and put it against the term art. So I would just like to consider different definitions, and if you guys have your own definition, please write it down below in, oh my gosh, not necessarily down below, but write it in the comments or send it to me on Instagram or email. And thank you so much for listening. I really hope you guys enjoyed this first episode. It can only go up from there, and it is really with your feedback that I think I can improve on this. I hope you continue to explore different creative avenues and you choose to stay to discover what's beyond art.